My psychotic younger sister got pregnant by my older sister's fiancé. The text message came through during my bridal shower. 3 words that detonated my entire life. I'm so sorry. From Ethan, my fiancé of 2 years, the man I was supposed to marry in 6 weeks. I stared at my phone while my bridesmaids laughed around me, opening gifts, drinking champagne. My hands went numb. I texted back immediately. Sorry for what? The 3 dots appeared and disappeared 4 times before his response came. Ask Zoe. My little sister's name on my phone screen felt like a punch to the chest. I looked across the room where Zoe sat on the couch, her face pale but composed. She met my eyes for exactly 2 seconds before looking away. That's when I knew. Everything I'd built was about to collapse. I excused myself to the bathroom and called Ethan. He answered on the first ring, his voice wrecked. Olivia, I don't know how to say this. Just say it. Your sister is pregnant with my baby. The bathroom tilted. I gripped the sink to stay upright. That's not possible. You wouldn't. We didn't mean for it to happen. It was one time. We were drunk after your birthday party and I hung up, opened the bathroom door, walked back into the living room where 30 women were celebrating a wedding that would never happen. Zoe stood up when she saw my face. Her hand went to her stomach in a gesture so theatrical it should have been my first clue. I'm sorry, Liv. I never wanted you to find out like this. My mother dropped her wine glass. The crystal shattered on the hardwood floor, red liquid spreading like blood. The next 3 hours dissolved into chaos. Zoe crying that she didn't mean for it to happen. Ethan showing up, desperate to explain. My mother screaming at both of them. My father sitting silent in his chair, his face gray. My bridesmaids quietly gathering their things and leaving, their eyes full of pity I couldn't stand to see. I called the venue and canceled everything. Lost the deposits. $12,000 gone. Called the photographer, the florist, the caterer. Each conversation a fresh humiliation. Yes, I need to cancel my wedding. No, I don't want to reschedule. When I finally made it home to the apartment I shared with Ethan, I packed everything I owned in 4 hours. He stood in the doorway of our bedroom watching me empty my life into boxes. Please let me explain. There's nothing to explain. You fucked my little sister and got her pregnant. That's pretty clear. She came on to me. That's your defense? She's 22, Ethan. You're 30. You're the adult here. I was drunk. So was she. That's not an excuse. I found a place to stay with my best friend Natalie, a nurse at St. Catherine's Hospital who'd been warning me about Zoe for years. She'd always said my sister was off, that something wasn't right about the way she looked at my life. I should have listened. Natalie helped me unpack in her spare room, neither of us speaking about the disaster my life had become. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, replaying every interaction I'd had with Zoe over the past year, looking for signs I'd missed. She'd been at the house constantly, always finding excuses to stop by when Ethan was home. I'd thought she was lonely after dropping out of college. I'd thought I was being a good sister. 2 weeks later, Zoe moved into my apartment with Ethan. My mother called to tell me, her voice careful. She said they need to figure things out before the baby comes. She's keeping it then. Yes. And they're getting married. My mother's words came faster, like she needed to get them out before I could respond. Small ceremony at the courthouse next month. Just family. The bile rose in my throat. You're going, aren't you? We have to, Olivia. She's carrying our grandchild. Your first grandchild was supposed to be mine, after I married Ethan. Remember? The silence on the other end told me everything. She'd already chosen. I hung up and threw my phone across the room. Natalie found me on the bathroom floor an hour later, dry heaving into the toilet. She held my hair back and didn't ask questions. That's what real sisters do. The wedding happened on a Thursday morning in October. I didn't attend, but I heard about it. Zoe wore white, a floor-length gown with a fake baby bump showing through the silk fabric. 6 months pregnant, she told everyone. The baby would come in 3 months. My parents stood beside her, smiling in the photos that showed up on Facebook. Ethan looked pale and thin, like he'd lost 20 pounds. I studied his face in those pictures, looking for signs of happiness. I found none, just resignation and something that looked like fear. At work, people whispered. I was a paralegal at a mid-sized law firm, and gossip traveled fast. Felicity Nguyen, one of the senior associates, pulled me into her office a week after the wedding. How are you holding up? I'm managing. If you need time off, you should take it. This kind of family stress can be overwhelming. I don't need time off. I need work. Something to focus on besides my sister stealing my entire life. Felicity watched me with careful eyes. Has she always been like this? Competitive? Jealous? I thought about it. Remembered Zoe copying my hairstyle in high school, dating my ex-boyfriend 2 weeks after we broke up, applying to the same colleges I'd applied to, even though she had different interests, getting the same tattoo I'd gotten, but bigger. Yes, she's always been like this. I just never realized how far she'd go. That weekend, I met my parents for coffee. Neutral territory. A Starbucks halfway between their house and Natalie's apartment. My mother looked older, worn down by the family civil war she'd helped create by choosing sides. Your father and I want you to know we still love you. Just not enough to skip Zoe's wedding. That's not fair, Olivia. You made your choice. I made mine. My father finally spoke up. His voice was rough, unused. Your grandmother's will. You should know. Zoe inherits everything. I set down my coffee cup carefully. What are you talking about? The estate. Your grandmother's house? Her investments? The will states it goes to the first granddaughter who marries. Zoe married first. Technically, I was supposed to marry first. My wedding was supposed to be 6 weeks before hers, but she made sure that didn't happen. You think she got pregnant on purpose? To beat you to marriage? My mother's voice rose. That's a horrible thing to suggest. Is it? Because grandma's estate is worth over $2 million. That's a pretty good motive for destroying my life. I watched their faces, saw the doubt creep in, the possibility taking root. They'd never considered it, never thought their baby girl capable of such calculation. I had. I'd been thinking about it for weeks now. The timing was too perfect. The pregnancy announced right before my wedding. Ethan's sudden guilt and confession. I hired a private investigator. Cost me $3,000 I couldn't afford, but I needed to know. His name was Leonard Cross, a retired police detective who specialized in family cases. He listened to my story without judgment, taking notes on a yellow legal pad. What exactly do you want me to find? Proof that Zoe planned this, that it wasn't an accident. Bank records, phone records, anything that shows premeditation. Leonard called me 2 weeks later. We need to meet in person. I drove to his office, a converted house in the suburbs. He had files spread across his desk, security footage from several locations, phone records highlighted in yellow. Your sister's been busy. He pulled up footage on his computer. This is from a pharmacy near your apartment, 3 months before she announced the pregnancy. The video showed Zoe buying prenatal vitamins. She wasn't pregnant then. How do you know? Because I also have footage from the clinic where she supposedly got her first ultrasound. She never went inside, parked in the lot, sat in her car for 20 minutes, then left. He showed me more. Zoe visiting websites about fake pregnancy bellies, Amazon orders for prosthetic bumps, ultrasound images downloaded from Google. My hands shook holding the printouts. She's not pregnant. Not unless she's the first woman in history to need a fake belly while actually carrying a child. The room spun. Why would she fake a pregnancy? Leonard leaned back in his chair. That's what we need to figure out. But I found something else. Something that explains why Ethan married her so quickly. He pulled up photos. Me and Ethan, naked in bed together. Except I'd never taken photos like that. I don't remember this. You wouldn't. My tech guy analyzed the images. They were taken while you were unconscious. Note the positioning. The way your arm is draped. That's not natural sleep. That's sedation. I studied the photos more carefully. My eyes were closed, mouth slightly open. Ethan's eyes were also closed. Both of us arranged like dolls. Where did these come from? Zoe sent them to Ethan 3 days before he texted you that apology. She's been blackmailing him, threatening to release them publicly, claim he drugged and assaulted her. I felt sick. She drugged both of us. Posed us like this. Yes. Probably Rohypnol or something similar. My tech guy thinks the photos were taken in Zoe's apartment, not yours. Note the wall color and the bedspread. That's not your place. She transported 2 unconscious adults to her apartment and photographed us. It's elaborate, but possible with help. I'm looking into whether she had an accomplice. I need to see Ethan. I need to know if she's blackmailing him. That might not be safe. If Zoe's as unstable as these files suggest, confronting her could be dangerous. I don't care. She's destroyed my life. I deserve to know why. I showed up at my old apartment at 8 p.m. on a Saturday. Zoe's car wasn't in the lot. Ethan answered the door in sweatpants and a wrinkled t-shirt. He looked terrible. Let me in. We need to talk. Olivia, I can't. She'll know you were here. She tracks my phone. She what? He pulled me inside quickly, checking the hallway before closing the door. She has an app on my phone, monitors where I go, who I talk to. She reads my texts. If she sees you were here, she'll... What? What will she do? He showed me his phone. Messages from Zoe. Hundreds of them. Threatening to send the photos to my family, to post them online, to go to the police and claim I raped her. When did this start? Right after your birthday party. I woke up in her apartment with no memory of how I got there. She showed me the photos. Said if I didn't confess to sleeping with her and getting her pregnant, she'd ruin both our lives. So you did. I thought I was protecting you. From what? The truth? She said she'd send you worse photos. Images edited to look like we'd both. He couldn't finish. Like you'd both what? Assaulted her. Together. She had them doctored somehow. They looked real. I'm so sorry, Olivia. I was terrified. I thought marrying her would make it stop. I wanted to hate him for his weakness, for not coming to me immediately. But sitting in our old living room, seeing the fear in his eyes, I understood. Zoe had weaponized our trust in each other, turned it into a trap neither of us saw coming. I showed him the files Leonard had compiled, the fake pregnancy evidence, the planned manipulation. Ethan's face went white. She's not pregnant. Never was. This whole thing was about your grandmother's inheritance. Ethan put his head in his hands. I married her for nothing. We both lost everything for nothing. What do? We go to the police. Show them the blackmail, the fake pregnancy. We file for an annulment and... The door opened. Zoe stood in the entrance, grocery bags in her hands, her fake belly prominent under her maternity dress. Well, isn't this cozy? My fiancé and my husband having a little reunion. She set down the bags slowly. Ethan stood up. Zoe, We need to talk. About what? About how you're a lying sociopath who faked a pregnancy and blackmailed him into marriage? I stood too, the files in my hand. She glanced at them and smiled. Is that Leonard Cross's work? I've been wondering when you'd hire someone. You knew I'd investigate? You're my sister. Of course you'd investigate. You're predictable, Olivia. It's one of your many flaws. She walked to the kitchen, started unpacking groceries like we were having a casual conversation. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave. Both of you are going to pretend this conversation never occurred. And we're all going to move forward with our lives. Or what? I held up the files. We have proof. Proof of what? That I bought prenatal vitamins? That I looked at pregnancy websites? Millions of women do that. The fake belly, the downloaded ultrasound images, circumstantial, and easily explained by a woman excited about her pregnancy who wanted to see what she'd look like further along. She pulled a real ultrasound image from her purse. From today's appointment. 27 weeks. You can call my doctor if you don't believe me. I looked at the ultrasound. It looked legitimate. Leonard hadn't found this one. When did you? This morning. At St. Catherine's Hospital. Dr. Warren Reeves performed the scan. You can verify it. I pulled out my phone. Called Natalie. Need you to check something at the hospital. Patient named Zoe Brennan. Supposed to have had an ultrasound this morning with Dr. Reeves. Natalie called back 5 minutes later. No appointment under that name. Dr. Reeves wasn't even working today. He's on vacation in Mexico. I showed Zoe my phone. Natalie works at St. Catherine's. There was no appointment. Your ultrasound is fake. Zoe's smile didn't waver. Maybe I got the doctor's name wrong. Maybe it was a different hospital. You're lying. About everything. The pregnancy, the affair, all of it. Prove it. That's the beautiful thing, Olivia. Even if I'm lying, the damage is done. Ethan and I are married. I'm legally entitled to inherit Grandma's estate. You lost. I lunged for her. Ethan caught me, held me back. Zoe laughed. There it is. The real you. Violent. Unstable. Should I call the police? Tell them you attacked a pregnant woman? Get out of my house. It's not your house. It's our house. Mine and Ethan's. Legally. Because we're married. And you're trespassing. Ethan grabbed my arm. We need to leave. Now. Before she does call the cops. Outside, I couldn't breathe. The November air was too cold, too thin. Ethan drove us to Natalie's apartment in silence. She met us at the door. I already called Leonard. He's coming over. We need a strategy. Natalie's apartment became our war room. Leonard arrived with more files. I did more digging after your call. Found something interesting about Zoe's past relationships. He spread photos across the coffee table. 3 different men, all engaged to other women when Zoe entered their lives. What happened to them? All 3 engagements ended, within months of Zoe targeting them. 2 of the men are now married to other people. One is in therapy for PTSD. And the women? He showed me their social media. One moved across the country. One had a nervous breakdown. One sued Zoe for harassment, but the case was dismissed due to lack of evidence. She's done this before. Multiple times. It's a pattern. But why? What does she get from it? Leonard pulled out another document. Your grandmother's will. I obtained a copy through legal channels. There's something you need to see. The first granddaughter to marry inherits the primary estate. But there's a clause. If the marriage is proven fraudulent or obtained through coercion within the first year, the inheritance transfers to the next eligible granddaughter. We have a window. 1 year to prove the marriage was based on blackmail and fraud. Ethan spoke up for the first time. I'll testify. About the photos, the threats, everything. That's brave, but it might not be enough. Leonard looked at me. We need proof of the fake pregnancy. The real proof, not just circumstantial evidence. How do we get that? She's not going to voluntarily prove she's lying. Natalie leaned forward. What if we force her hand? Create a situation where she has to produce medical evidence. A public event. Your grandmother's memorial service is coming up in 2 weeks. The will reading happens after. What if we demand a paternity test? Or proof of pregnancy from an independent doctor? She won't submit to that. She doesn't have to. Just refusing will raise enough questions to delay the inheritance until we can gather more evidence. The memorial service was scheduled for Saturday afternoon at the Riverside Chapel. Family only. 50 people gathered to remember a woman I'd loved deeply. Grandma Eleanor had been sharp, funny, fiercely independent until the stroke took her at 83. She'd always favored me, or so I thought. Now I wondered if Zoe had poisoned that relationship too. Zoe arrived wearing black and her prosthetic belly, accepted condolences with tears in her eyes, played the grieving pregnant granddaughter perfectly. Ethan stood beside her, hollow-eyed and silent. During the service, Zoe gave a speech about how much Grandma Eleanor had meant to her, how she wished her baby could have met its great-grandmother. I sat in the back row next to Natalie, my fingernails cutting into my palms. After the burial, everyone gathered at my parents' house for the will reading. Grandma's lawyer, Douglas Penn, a man in his 70s with kind eyes, stood in the living room. Eleanor's estate is substantial. Primary residence valued at $800,000, investment portfolio worth approximately $1.4 million, and various personal effects. As stated in her will, the primary beneficiary is the first granddaughter to marry. He looked at Zoe. That would be you, Zoe Brennan, née Ashford. However, Before the estate can be transferred, we need to verify certain details. What kind of details? Zoe's voice was sharp. Proof of marriage, which we have. And, Douglas looked uncomfortable. Given recent concerns raised by other family members, proof of pregnancy? Excuse me? You can't demand that. I'm afraid I can. The will includes a morality clause. Inheritance can be contested if obtained through deceptive means. I'm not being deceptive. I'm 6 months pregnant. Then proving it should be simple. A blood test from an independent physician. Results within a week. Zoe stood up. This is harassment. Olivia put you up to this because she's jealous. I stood too. I'm not jealous. I'm protecting our grandmother's legacy from a con artist. You're calling me a con artist? I'm calling you a liar. You're not pregnant. You never slept with Ethan. You drugged both of us and staged photos to blackmail him into marriage so you could steal my inheritance. The room went silent. My mother's hand flew to her mouth. My father stood frozen. Ethan stepped forward. It's true. All of it. Zoe blackmailed me with fabricated evidence. I married her under duress. The pregnancy is fake. Zoe turned to him, her face transforming into something I'd never seen before. You're going to regret this. She reached under her dress and ripped off the prosthetic belly, threw it on the floor in front of everyone. You're right. I'm not pregnant. Never was. Gasps echoed through the room. My mother actually swayed on her feet. But here's what you don't understand. I don't need to be pregnant to inherit. I just needed to be married first. And I am. Legally married to Ethan Carver. That's all the will requires. Douglas cleared his throat. Actually, the will requires the marriage to be legitimate, obtained without fraud or coercion. If Mr. Carver testifies that he was blackmailed, my testimony won't matter. Zoe's voice cut through the room like a blade. Because I have insurance. She pulled out her phone. Video files, hours of footage from Olivia and Ethan's apartment. She looked directly at me. You thought you were so smart, investigating me. But I've been documenting everything you've done for the past 2 years. Every argument, every private moment, every secret you thought was safe. She started playing clips. Me and Ethan arguing about money. Me crying after a bad day at work. Private, intimate moments that should never have been recorded. Where did you get these? Your apartment. I installed cameras when I helped you move in 2 years ago. You helped us. We trusted you. Exactly. You trusted me with your key code, your schedules, your entire lives. I've been collecting evidence this whole time. Evidence of what? That we're human beings with private lives? Evidence that you're not as perfect as you pretend. She scrolled through her phone, found another file. This one's my favorite. She played a video of me and Natalie having wine 3 months ago. In the recording, I was crying, telling Natalie I wished Zoe would disappear, that sometimes I fantasized about her dying. It was a moment of weakness, of pain. Everyone has those thoughts when they're hurt. But seeing it played in front of my family, I looked unhinged, violent. See? Olivia's not the victim here. She's been plotting against me this whole time, wishing me dead, trying to destroy my marriage. I turned to Douglas. This doesn't change anything. She still blackmailed Ethan. She still faked a pregnancy. The marriage is fraudulent. We'll see what a judge says. But first, I'm filing for a restraining order against Olivia, for harassment and threats. My lawyer will handle the inheritance transfer. And Ethan. She turned to him. You're going to withdraw your testimony, or I release every video I have, including ones you really don't want public. What videos? Videos from your apartment that show exactly why you broke up with that girl in college, the one who accused you of. She didn't finish. Didn't need to. Ethan's face went gray. That was dismissed. Charges were dropped. She was lying. Was she? I have footage that suggests otherwise. I installed those cameras before you two even moved in, when the previous tenant lived there. Funny what people do when they think they're alone. Natalie grabbed my arm. This is extortion. Call the police. Go ahead. Zoe's smile was reptilian. I've already made copies, uploaded them to secure servers. If anything happens to me, if I'm arrested, if I'm charged with anything, the videos release automatically to every major news outlet and social media platform. You'll destroy your own sister. We both know I'm not the sister who needs destroying. Zoe picked up her fake belly from the floor, brushed it off almost tenderly. The memorial service is over. The inheritance is mine. And all of you are going to smile and accept it, or everyone's secrets go public. She walked out, left us standing in wreckage. My mother collapsed onto the couch, sobbing. My father looked at me like I was a stranger. Ethan sat down heavily, his head in his hands. Douglas packed his briefcase. I'll need to consult with the other trustees. This is unprecedented. Natalie pulled me outside. The November air bit through my dress. We need to go to the police. Now. With what? She has videos of us being human. That's not illegal. The blackmail is. But proving it means exposing Ethan's past, whatever she has on him. And you heard her. If we try anything, everything goes public. So she wins? She just gets away with all of this? Natalie's phone buzzed. She looked at the screen and went pale. What? I think I know how she did it. How she got those videos from your apartment. She showed me her phone. A news article about a security company being investigated for illegal surveillance. The company was called Safeguard Home Systems. Your building uses them, right? Yes. They installed cameras in all the common areas 2 years ago. According to this article, they've been installing hidden cameras inside apartments without tenant knowledge, recording people in their homes, selling the footage. A class action lawsuit was just filed. I grabbed her phone, read the article twice. This is it. This is proof Zoe didn't just coincidentally have access. She worked for them. Natalie pulled up LinkedIn, searched Zoe's name. There. Employment history. Safeguard Home Systems. Sales representative. 2 years ago. She got the job right before you moved into that building. She planned this from the beginning. Researched where you were moving, got hired by the security company, installed cameras in your apartment before you even signed the lease. How long has she been planning this? I thought about all the failed relationships Leonard had documented. Probably years. Since Grandma updated her will. Zoe would have been 19 when the will was changed. Old enough to understand what it meant. Young enough to be patient. We drove to Leonard's office. He was still there at 9 p.m., surrounded by case files. Leonard looked up when we burst in. I found something. We all spoke at the same time. Showed him the article about Safeguard. He pulled up his own laptop. I was just researching that. The company's being shut down. Federal investigation for violation of wiretapping laws. Everyone who had their systems is entitled to sue. And everyone who worked for them during the illegal surveillance period could face criminal charges, including Zoe, if we can prove she knowingly installed cameras without consent. Leonard pulled out another file. I've been looking into Zoe's finances. She's broke. The inheritance isn't just about beating you, Olivia. She needs the money. Credit card debt north of $40,000. Student loans in default. She dropped out of 3 different colleges. Your grandmother's estate is her only way out. That makes her more dangerous. Desperate people do desperate things. We need to move fast. File a lawsuit against Safeguard and name Zoe as a defendant. Subpoena her employment records. Prove she had access and motive. How long will that take? Months, maybe years. The inheritance will be transferred before then, not if we get a temporary injunction. Stop the transfer until the lawsuit is resolved. Douglas might help with that. He seemed genuinely shocked. We worked through the night, filed paperwork, gathered evidence, built a case that was equal parts civil lawsuit and criminal complaint. At dawn, Leonard drove me home to Natalie's apartment. Sleep for a few hours. You'll need energy for what comes next. I couldn't sleep. Lay in bed staring at the ceiling, my mind replaying every interaction with Zoe, looking for the moment I could have stopped this, the warning sign I should have seen. My phone buzzed at 7 a.m. Text from my mother. We need to talk. Come to the house. I drove over in yesterday's clothes. The neighborhood looked the same as always. Neat lawns. Families heading to Sunday morning church. Normal life continuing while mine fell apart. My parents were in the kitchen, coffee brewing. The morning paper spread on the table. Headlines about the Safeguard scandal taking up the front page. We saw the article. My father's voice was heavy. Is it true? Did Zoe work for them? Yes. And she used that access to spy on me and Ethan, to collect blackmail material, to destroy our lives so she could steal an inheritance. My mother's hands shook around her coffee mug. I don't understand. When did she become this person? She's always been this person. We just didn't want to see it. Remember when she plagiarized my college essay? When she stole my boyfriend in high school? When she lied about having cancer to get attention our junior year? We made excuses. Said she was young, troubled, acting out. I sat down at the table. She's not troubled. She's calculating. This isn't a mental breakdown. It's a multi-year plan that she's executing perfectly. My father looked older in the morning light. What do? You stop enabling her. You testify about what you saw at the memorial service. The fake pregnancy, the blackmail. You help us get a restraining order and an injunction. My mother shook her head. She's still our daughter. She's a criminal who's destroying her sister. I'm your daughter too. Remember? You have to choose. Her or me. Because I can't do this alone anymore. The silence stretched. Finally, my father nodded. We'll help. Whatever you need. Tell us what to do. We filed for an emergency injunction Monday morning. Judge Catherine Moreno presided. She was in her 50s, known for no-nonsense rulings. Zoe showed up with her lawyer, a man named Grant Felton who looked expensive. He argued the case was frivolous, motivated by sibling jealousy. My lawyers presented the Safeguard evidence. Employment records showing Zoe had access. Video timestamps matching her work shifts. She had means and opportunity. Judge Moreno reviewed the documents. This is concerning. Miss Ashford, did you install surveillance equipment in your sister's apartment without her knowledge or consent? Zoe stood. I installed company equipment as part of my job. I didn't know it included hidden cameras. That's the company's fault, not mine. Did you access footage from those cameras? I may have seen some files. As part of quality control. Quality control that included watching your sister's private moments? Collecting material to use against her? Grant interrupted. Your Honor, my client's employment practices aren't on trial here. The inheritance is. And Miss Ashford met all legal requirements for inheritance. She was married first. Actually, Douglas stood up from the back of the courtroom. The will specifically requires the marriage to be legitimate. Mr. Carver has provided sworn testimony that he was coerced. Judge Moreno looked at Ethan. Mr. Carver, is this true? Ethan stood. Yes, Your Honor. Zoe showed me fabricated evidence suggesting I'd committed a crime. She threatened to release it unless I married her. I felt I had no choice. Do you have proof of these threats? He handed over his phone. Text messages, voice recordings, months of documentation. The judge reviewed them. These are serious allegations. Miss Ashford, how do you respond? It's all lies. He's colluding with my sister because he regrets marrying me. Wants to go back to Olivia. He's making up stories to invalidate our marriage. Your Honor, I have evidence that contradicts that. Leonard stood up. Private Investigator Leonard Cross. I've compiled documentation of Miss Ashford's pattern of behavior. 3 previous relationships where she targeted engaged men. Similar tactics each time. Judge Moreno held up her hand. This is becoming complex. I'm granting a temporary injunction. The inheritance transfer is suspended for 90 days pending further investigation. Miss Ashford, you're ordered to submit to an independent psychological evaluation. Mr. Carver, you'll need to provide additional evidence of coercion. We'll reconvene in 30 days. Court dismissed. Zoe's face contorted with rage. She turned to me in the hallway outside the courtroom. You think you've won? This isn't over. Not even close. What else can you possibly do? You've lost. The injunction is in place. The inheritance is frozen. Everything you worked for is gone. Zoe leaned close. Her voice dropped to a whisper. I have one more video. One you haven't seen. From the night I drugged you both. What video? One that shows exactly what I made you two do while you were unconscious. Things that would destroy both your lives if they went public. I had help that night. Someone who held the camera while I positioned you. Someone who has copies that will release if anything happens to me. My blood froze. Who helped you? Doesn't matter. What matters is that video exists. And unless you drop this case immediately, it goes viral. Every news outlet, every social media platform, your family, your employers, everyone will see what you're capable of when you're not conscious enough to stop it. I grabbed her arm. You're bluffing. Am I? Test me. She pulled away and walked down the courthouse steps. Grant followed her, talking urgently on his phone. Natalie appeared beside me. What did she say? She claims she has another video. Something worse than the staged photos. Something that would destroy us if it went public. Do you believe her? I don't know. But I can't risk it. If there's even a chance she's telling the truth, then we need to find out who helped her that night. Find them before they release anything. Leonard was already on his phone. I heard some of that. Let me make some calls. By evening, we had a name. Zoe's ex-girlfriend. A woman named Harper Sinclair who'd been her partner during college. Leonard found social media posts showing them together 2 years ago, right around the time the cameras were installed. We need to talk to her. Leonard shook his head. She's gone off-grid. Deleted all her social media accounts 2 weeks ago, right before the memorial service. She knew this was coming. Probably got paid off to disappear. Can we track her down? I'm trying. But if she doesn't want to be found, it could take months. We don't have months. We have 30 days until the next hearing. And Zoe's threatening to release whatever video she has if we don't drop the case. Then we call her bluff. File criminal charges for the blackmail and surveillance. Force her hand. If she releases the video, she loses any leverage. And we lose our reputations. Maybe our jobs. Our futures. Natalie sat down heavily. There has to be another way. What if we find the footage she's threatening us with before she can release it? How? She said it's stored with someone else. Multiple copies. Even if we found Harper, there could be other copies anywhere. I thought about it. Played through scenarios. Zoe's entire plan depended on controlling information, having leverage over everyone around her. But leverage only works if people believe it exists. What if the video doesn't exist? What if she's lying about having footage from that night? The photos we've seen are bad enough. She might not have anything worse. It's a gamble. Leonard looked skeptical. If you're wrong and she does have something, then we're no worse off than we are now. She's already destroyed my engagement, stolen my inheritance, and poisoned my family. What else can she take? Natalie grabbed my hand. Your career, your reputation, everything you've built beyond this family drama. And I'd lose it all anyway if I let her win. At least this way I'm fighting back. We filed criminal charges Wednesday morning. Blackmail, extortion, illegal surveillance. The district attorney, a woman named Pamela Brooks, reviewed the case personally. This is strong. If even half of this is true, your sister is looking at serious prison time. How soon can you move forward? We'll arraign her within 48 hours. Be prepared for fallout. People like this don't go quietly. The arraignment was scheduled for Friday afternoon. Zoe showed up in a cream-colored dress, looking innocent and victimized. She cried when the charges were read, told the judge she was being persecuted by a jealous sister. The judge wasn't buying it. Bail was set at $50,000. Zoe couldn't make it. She was remanded to custody pending trial. As the bailiff led her away, she looked back at me, smiled. Not a frightened smile, a knowing one. I'd just done exactly what she wanted. That night, the video went live, posted on every social media platform simultaneously, titled, What Really Happened That Night. I watched it in Natalie's living room, my hands shaking so badly I could barely hold my phone. The footage showed me and Ethan unconscious in Zoe's bed, but it also showed someone else, a third person, moving both our bodies into compromising positions. That person's face was blurred, voice distorted, but you could hear them talking to Zoe, giving directions, helping stage the scene. This is perfect. No one will ever believe they didn't do this willingly. The video had been edited, spliced together to make it look like we were conscious and participating in activities we'd never agreed to. Deep fake technology mixed with real footage. Sophisticated enough that most viewers wouldn't question it. Within hours, it had millions of views. Comments flooded in, cruel judgments about consent and morality. People who'd never met me deciding who I was based on fabricated footage. My phone rang constantly. My boss, my parents, friends, everyone who'd seen it, demanding explanations I couldn't give. Natalie found me on the bathroom floor at midnight. I can't breathe. The walls are closing in and I can't. She helped me sit up. Breathe with me. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4. We'll get through this. How? Everyone's seen it. My career is over. My life is over. Zoe won. She hasn't won yet. That video is evidence. Evidence of what she's capable of how far she'll go. We show it to the DA. Prove it's fake. Prove she manipulated everything. Leonard was already working on it. His tech expert analyzed the video frame by frame, found the editing marks, the deep fake signatures, the impossible angles that proved multiple cameras and post-production work. The report was definitive. This video was created over several weeks, maybe months, using software that didn't exist 2 years ago when it was supposedly filmed. The metadata shows it was compiled last month. Everything about this is fabricated. We presented it to Pamela Brooks at the DA's office Monday morning. She watched the analysis, her expression darkening. This is evidence tampering, creating false evidence. She just added another felony to her list. Can we get it taken down? The platforms are fighting us. First Amendment issues. But we can definitely prove it's fake in court. The damage is done, though. My reputation is destroyed. Brooks leaned forward. Or it's about to be restored. When people see proof that your sister created this to frame you, when they understand the lengths she went to, you become the victim, the survivor, not the villain. But first, we need to find Harper Sinclair. She's the key to everything. We find her, we prove Zoe had help, we show the conspiracy. How do we find someone who doesn't want to be found? We offer immunity. Brooks made the announcement at a press conference that afternoon. Anyone with information about the creation or distribution of fabricated evidence in the Ashford case will receive immunity from prosecution if they come forward voluntarily. It was a gamble. But Harper called my lawyer 3 hours later. I want to make a deal. She met us at a coffee shop in a suburb 40 minutes away. Harper was thin, nervous, her hands constantly moving. She looked haunted. Zoe said no one would get hurt, that it was just about money, about getting what she deserved. What did she pay you? $40,000. Exactly what I needed to cover my debts. She said it was easy money. Just help with some photos, some videos, make her sister look bad. I didn't know she'd take it this far. Tell us everything. From the beginning. Harper took a shaky breath, started talking. Zoe recruited me 2 years ago, right after your grandmother changed her will. She'd done research, found out about the inheritance clause, decided she'd beat you to marriage no matter what it took. She studied your life, learned your schedule, your habits, got the job at Safeguard specifically to access your apartment. She watched you for months before making her move. The birthday party where you supposedly slept with Ethan. That was her first attempt. She spiked both your drinks with Rohypnol, transported you to her apartment. I helped pose you for photos. We took hundreds, found the most compromising angles, made it look like you'd been together. But you weren't pregnant then. Why claim that later? She needed a reason for Ethan to confess, to make it look like he'd betrayed you willingly. The pregnancy was the perfect excuse, made him look like the villain instead of the victim. She bought fake sonograms online, practiced wearing the prosthetic belly, planned to fake a miscarriage in a few months and milk the sympathy. How did she get Ethan to marry her? Blackmail. Pure and simple. She threatened to claim he'd raped her, showed him edited videos that made it look like he'd assaulted you while you were unconscious. He was terrified. Thought marrying her was the only way to protect both of you. And the video that just went viral? Created last month. Zoe hired a deep fake specialist to enhance the original footage, make it look more damaging. She was saving it as insurance. If the inheritance case went badly, she'd release it and claim you two were conspiring against her. You helped create evidence that destroyed my life. Harper's eyes filled with tears. I know. I'm sorry. I thought I was just helping her get money she deserved. I didn't realize she was. She's a sociopath. Leonard's voice was flat. She systematically destroyed multiple lives for financial gain. There's no excuse for what you did, but there might be redemption. Brooks pulled out paperwork. This is your immunity agreement. You testify fully and truthfully about everything Zoe did, and you walk away. You hold anything back, and you go down with her. Harper signed without hesitation. Where do we start? The trial began 6 weeks later. Zoe pleaded not guilty to all charges, claimed she was the victim of a conspiracy led by a jealous sister. Her lawyer tried to paint me as unstable, obsessed, willing to destroy my own family for money. But Harper's testimony demolished that narrative. She walked the jury through every step of Zoe's plan. The surveillance, the drugging, the staged photos, the blackmail, the fabricated video, each revelation more damaging than the last. Ethan testified about the threats, the constant monitoring, the fear that dominated every moment of their marriage. My parents testified about the fake pregnancy reveal, the prosthetic belly thrown on the floor, Zoe's admission that it was all a lie. Leonard presented evidence of the pattern: 3 previous victims, 3 destroyed relationships, a decade of manipulation and destruction. The defense tried to discredit everyone, called us liars and conspirators, but the evidence was overwhelming. Video metadata, employment records, bank transactions showing Harper's payment, text messages between Zoe and Harper planning every detail. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. Guilty on all counts: blackmail, extortion, identity theft, creating false evidence, illegal surveillance. The judge sentenced her to 8 years. Zoe stood expressionless as the sentence was read, showed no emotion until they led her away. Then she looked back at me one final time, mouthed 2 words: worth it. The inheritance was released to me 4 months later, after Zoe's appeals were exhausted, after the marriage to Ethan was annulled, after everything she'd built collapsed completely. I stood in Grandma Eleanor's house for the first time as its legal owner, walked through rooms full of memories, found a letter in the study addressed to me, written months before Grandma died. My dearest Olivia, if you're reading this, it means my will has been executed. I suspect Zoe attempted to manipulate the inheritance. She's been troubled for years, and I've watched her deterioration with a grandmother's heartbreak. The will was designed to test character, not reward speed. Real love doesn't require fraud. Real family doesn't require destruction. I always knew you'd be the one to honor our family's values. The house is yours because you earned it through patience and integrity, not through schemes. Take care of it. Take care of yourself. And remember that blood doesn't make family. Love does. I sold the house 6 months later. Couldn't live with the ghosts. Split the money with my parents, who'd testified against their daughter and lost her forever. Donated a portion to organizations helping victims of family manipulation and fraud. Ethan and I tried to rebuild our friendship, but the damage was too deep. He moved to Seattle. Started over somewhere Zoe's shadow couldn't reach. We text occasionally. Superficial updates about weather and work. The intimacy we once shared was murdered by my sister's calculations. Natalie remained my anchor. Proof that chosen family matters more than blood. She stood beside me through every court date, every breakdown, every moment I wanted to quit. Harper served community service and underwent therapy. Last I heard, she was working with the DA's office, helping identify other victims of similar schemes, trying to atone. Zoe writes me letters from prison. I don't open them. Natalie collects them in a box in her basement. Evidence for the restraining order that will activate upon her release. I changed careers, became a victim's advocate, use my story to help others recognize manipulation before it destroys them, give talks at law schools about familial fraud, show the video of Zoe's arrest as a teaching tool. The inheritance clause was removed from Grandma's will and probate. The estate distributed equally among all grandchildren now, preventing future manipulation, closing the loopholes Zoe exploited. On the anniversary of my canceled wedding, I visit Grandma's grave, bring flowers, tell her about the year, about surviving when survival seemed impossible. I don't forgive Zoe, probably never will, but I understand her better now. She saw love as competition, family as a game to win. The inheritance wasn't about money. It was about proving she could take everything that mattered and make it hers. She lost. But victory doesn't feel like I imagined. It feels like survival, like emerging from a war zone scarred but standing. My sister taught me that blood can be poison, that family can be the enemy, that trust is dangerous when given to the wrong people. But she also taught me resilience. That truth eventually surfaces. That documentation and patience can outlast manipulation. That sometimes the only way to win is to refuse to play by someone else's rules. 5 years later, I'm building a life she can't touch. New career, new city, new relationships built on honesty instead of obligation. The inheritance is gone, spent on legal fees and healing and starting over. But I'm free in ways I never was before. Free from the obligation to protect a sister who wanted to destroy me. Free from the guilt of family loyalty when family was the weapon. Zoe will be released eventually. Face the world she tried to manipulate. I'll be ready. Not with revenge. With boundaries. With distance. With the life I built from the ruins of her schemes. That's the inheritance that matters. Not money or property. But the knowledge that I survived my own sister's systematic destruction and came out stronger. She took 2 years of my life. I refused to give her more. That's the real victory. Living well despite her worst efforts. Proving that calculated cruelty might win battles but loses wars. The inheritance was never about a house or money. It was about who we become when tested. Zoe chose destruction. I chose survival. And in the end, that made all the difference. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.